First contact. Captain Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the UES Pathfinder, her eyes fixed on the massive viewscreen before her. The alien vessel loomed large, its sleek, crystalline structure unlike anything humanity had ever encountered. After centuries of wondering if we were alone in the universe, first contact was about to be made. Status report, Chen barked, her voice steady despite the gravity of the moment. Lieutenant Rodriguez, her second-in-command, responded promptly. All systems nominal, Captain. The alien vessel remains stationary. No signs of weapons charging or shields activating. Chen nodded, her mind racing through the countless first-contact scenarios they had drilled. None of them seemed adequate now that the moment had arrived. Open a channel, audio and visual. The communications officer worked his console, and a moment later, the view screen flickered. The bridge crew collectively held their breath as the image resolved into a being that was undeniably alien. The creature before them had iridescent, scale-like skin that shimmered with every movement. Its eyes, 4 of them arranged in a diamond pattern, blinked independently as they took in the human crew. When it spoke, its voice was a melodious trill that the ship's universal translator struggled to interpret. Greetings, beings of the blue world. We are the Zarthene. We come seeking alliance in dark times. Chen stepped forward, her posture straight and confident. I am Captain Sarah Chen of the United Earth ship Pathfinder. We welcome you in peace and look forward to learning more about your people and the purpose of your visit. The alien, the Zarthene, tilted its head in what Chen hoped was a gesture of acknowledgement. Captain Chen, we have traveled far to reach you. Our observations suggest your species possesses qualities that may prove essential in the trials to come. Chen's eyebrow arched slightly. Trials? What sort of trials do you mean? The Zarthene's scales rippled, a motion that the universal translator interpreted as concern. There is a threat that looms over all sentient life in this sector of the galaxy. We call them the Void Eaters. They consume entire civilizations, leaving nothing but empty, lifeless worlds in their wake. A chill ran down Chen's spine, but she maintained her composure. That's quite a claim. Do you have evidence to support this? The alien manipulated something off-screen, and suddenly the viewscreen split. One half showed the Zarthene, while the other displayed a series of images that made Chen's blood run cold. Planets, once teeming with life, reduced to barren rocks. Massive swarms of something that defied description, blotting out the stars as they moved through space. We have been fighting them for generations, the Zarthene continued. But we are losing. Our technology, advanced as it is, cannot stem the tide. We need something different, something unpredictable. Chen exchanged glances with her crew. The implications were staggering. Not only was humanity not alone in the universe, but they were being asked to join an interstellar war against a threat they couldn't fully comprehend. Why us? Chen asked, voicing the question on everyone's mind. Surely there are other, more advanced species you could turn to. The Zarthene's eyes blinked in rapid succession. Your species is unique, Captain Chen. In all our travels, we have never encountered a race so adaptable, so quick to innovate. You went from primitive combustion engines to faster-than-light travel in less than 3 of your centuries. Such rapid advancement is unprecedented. Chen felt a swell of pride at the alien's words, but caution tempered her response. While we're flattered by your assessment, you must understand that a decision of this magnitude isn't mine to make alone. I'll need to confer with my superiors. The Zarthene's scales darkened slightly. Of course, Captain, but I implore you to act swiftly. The Void Eaters draw ever closer to this sector. We estimate you have perhaps one of your Earth years before they arrive. Chen nodded grimly. Understood. We'll need to verify your claims, of course. Would you be willing to share more detailed information about these Void Eaters and your encounters with them? Certainly, the Zarthene replied. We will transmit all relevant data to your ship's computers, but be warned, Captain Chen. The knowledge we share may burden your dreams for cycles to come. As the data transfer began, Chen turned to her crew. Their faces reflected a mix of excitement, fear, and determination. Humanity had long wondered if they were alone in the universe. Now they knew they weren't. But that knowledge came with a terrifying responsibility. "Lieutenant Rodriguez," Chen said, her voice low but firm, "prepare a Priority 1 transmission to Earth Command. Inform them that we've made first contact and that we may be facing an existential threat to all life as we know it." Rodriguez nodded, his fingers already flying over his console. "Aye, Captain. Message being encoded now." Chen turned back to the view screen, where the Tsar theme waited patiently. "We'll review your information and respond as quickly as we can. In the meantime, perhaps we could arrange a face-to-face meeting. It would go a long way towards building trust between our peoples." The alien scales shifted to a lighter hue, which Chen hoped indicated agreement. "We would be honored, Captain Chen. Shall we prepare a delegation to board your vessel, or would you prefer to visit ours?" Chen considered for a moment. Protocol suggested hosting the aliens on the Pathfinder, where security could be better controlled, but a gesture of trust might go a long way in this delicate situation. "We would be honored to accept your hospitality," Chen decided. "I'll bring a small team aboard your ship, if that's acceptable." The Zarthine's eyes blinked in unison. "Most acceptable, Captain. We await your arrival with great anticipation." As the communication ended, Chen took a deep breath. The next few hours would shape the course of human history. They needed to tread carefully, balancing the need for caution with the potential benefits of this alliance. "Rodriguez, you have the bridge," Chen announced. "I want a full analysis of that data as soon as possible. Dr. Potel, assemble a first contact team. Full decontamination protocols. We leave for the Zarthine ship in 1 hour." As her crew scrambled to carry out her orders, Chen allowed herself a moment of reflection. This was why she had joined the Pathfinder program, to explore, to make discoveries, to push the boundaries of human knowledge. But she had never imagined it would lead to this, a desperate alliance against a threat that endangered all sentient life. Whatever came next, Chen knew one thing for certain: humanity would face it head-on, with all the courage, ingenuity, and determination that had brought them to the stars. The galaxy was about to learn what humans were truly capable of when pushed to their limits. And if these Void Eaters thought Earth would be an easy target, they were in for one hell of a surprise. The Alliance. The Zarthine ship was a marvel of engineering, its interior a seamless blend of organic curves and crystalline structures that seemed to pulse with an inner light. Captain Sarah Chen led her small delegation through corridors that adjusted their size to accommodate the human visitors, a feat that left even the normally stoic Dr. Patel wide-eyed with wonder. Their guide, a Zarthine who had introduced itself as Scowlin, brought them to what appeared to be a conference room. The table at its center was a shimmering holographic projection, currently displaying a three-dimensional map of the galaxy. "Your timing is fortuitous, Captain Chen," Scowlin said, its scales shifting to a deep blue. "Our long-range sensors have detected Void Eater activity at the edge of this sector. We have perhaps less time than we initially estimated." Chen frowned, studying the map. Red dots indicating Void Eater sightings were creeping steadily towards Earth's position. How much time? 6 of your Earth months, at most, Scowlin replied grimly. Chen exchanged glances with her team. 6 months to prepare for a threat they barely understood. It seemed impossible, but they had no choice but to try. "We'll need to move quickly," Chen said. "I've received provisional approval from Earth Command to negotiate an alliance, but they'll want assurances, guarantees that this isn't some elaborate ruse." Xellen's scales rippled in what Chen was beginning to recognize as amusement. "Your caution is understandable, Captain. We would expect nothing less. What would you propose to allay your leader's concerns?" Chen had given this considerable thought during the journey to the Zarthine ship. "We need 3 things. First, a comprehensive data package on Void Eater physiology, behavior, and weaknesses, anything that could help us develop effective countermeasures. Second, we need a cultural exchange. Our people need to understand yours if we're to work together effectively. And third, she paused, knowing this last request might be the most contentious. We need access to your technology. Not all of it, but enough to give us a fighting chance. The room fell silent as the Zarthene considered her words. Chen held her breath, acutely aware of how much rode on this moment. Finally, Zalin spoke. Your requests are bold, Captain Chen. In normal circumstances, we would be hesitant to share so much with the species we've just encountered. But these are not normal circumstances. Its scales shifted to a resolute grey. We agree to your terms, with one condition of our own. Chen nodded, encouraging the alien to continue. We've observed that your species possesses a unique quality, an ability to think laterally, to find solutions where none seem to exist. We request that a team of human scientists and strategists be embedded with our fleet. Your perspective may provide the edge we need. It was a reasonable request, Chen thought, and it would give humanity a front-row seat to Zarthene operations, which could prove invaluable. Agreed, she said, extending her hand in the human gesture of agreement. Zalin hesitated for a moment before extending its own appendage, mimicking the handshake. As their hands met, Chen felt a slight tingle, as if static electricity were passing between them. The alliance was sealed. The next few weeks passed in a whirlwind of activity. As promised, the Zarthene shared vast amounts of data on the Void Eaters. The more Chen and her team learned, the more terrifying the threat became. The Void Eaters were not a single species, but a collective of parasitic organisms that worked in terrifying unison. They consumed all organic matter on a planet, breaking it down into base elements which they used to propagate. But it was their ability to absorb and adapt to new technologies that made them truly nightmarish. Each encounter made them stronger, more resilient. Earth's scientists worked around the clock, analyzing the Zarthene data and beginning to formulate potential strategies. The cultural exchange program was also in full swing, with human diplomats and sociologists working to bridge the gap between the two species. But it was in the realm of technology that the most exciting developments were occurring. The Zarthene shared advancements in energy manipulation, materials science, and faster-than-light travel that pushed the boundaries of human understanding. Earth's engineers and physicists threw themselves into the task of comprehending and adapting these technologies, making breakthroughs that would have taken decades under normal circumstances. As the deadline loomed ever closer, Chen found herself in constant meetings with both human and Zarthene leadership. The plan that was taking shape was audacious, combining Zarthene technology with human ingenuity in ways neither species had anticipated. The key, Dr. Patel explained during one such meeting, is unpredictability. The Void Eaters adapt quickly to any consistent strategy. We need to be constantly changing our approach, using methods they can't anticipate. Zalin, who had become the primary liaison between the two species, tilted its head in consideration. An interesting approach. Our own tactics have always favored consistency and overwhelming force, but clearly that has not been sufficient. Chen nodded, a grim smile on her face. That's where we come in. Humanity has a long history of asymmetric warfare. We're good at being unpredictable. The plan that emerged was multifaceted. Earth's shipyards worked overtime, retrofitting the human fleet with Zarthene technology. New weapons were developed, from microscopic nanobots designed to disrupt the Void Eaters' collective consciousness to massive energy weapons that could tear holes in the fabric of space-time. But perhaps the most revolutionary development came from an unexpected source. Dr. Emily Wong, a quantum physicist who had been studying the Zarthene faster-than-light drive, made a breakthrough that would change everything. We can use the principles of quantum entanglement to create a network of instantaneous communication, she explained, her eyes bright with excitement. No matter where our ships are in the galaxy, they'll be able to coordinate their actions in real time. The Void Eaters won't be able to predict our movements because we'll be reacting faster than they can adapt. As the 6-month deadline approached, a sense of nervous anticipation gripped both Earth and the Zarthene fleet. The combined armada was an impressive sight, sleek Zarthene cruisers flying alongside newly retrofitted human battleships. It was an alliance forged in the face of extinction, a testament to what could be achieved when two species put aside their differences and worked together. Captain Chen stood on the bridge of the UES Pathfinder, now the flagship of the human contingent. The ship had been transformed, its systems a hybrid of human and Zarthene technology. As she looked out at the assembled fleet, she felt a mix of pride and trepidation. "Status report," she called out, her voice steady despite the tension that filled the air. "All systems nominal," Captain Lieutenant Rodriguez replied. "The fleet is in position and awaiting your command." Chen nodded, taking a deep breath. This was it, the moment that would decide the fate of not just humanity, but countless species across the galaxy. "Open a channel to the entire fleet," she ordered. As the communications officer signaled that the channel was open, Chen straightened her shoulders and spoke, her voice carrying to every ship in the Armada. "To all ships of the Allied fleet, this is Captain Sarah Chen. In a few moments, we will make the jump to the Void Eater's last known position. What we face there will test us in ways we can scarcely imagine. But remember this, we fight not just for ourselves, but for every sentient being in this galaxy. We fight for the right of all species to exist, to grow, to reach for the stars without fear. The Void Eaters think they're invincible. They think they can consume everything in their path without resistance. Today, we prove them wrong. Today, we show them that life will not go quietly into the night. We will rage against the dying of the light, and we will win." A cheer went up across the fleet, human and Zarthene voices joined in a unified cry of defiance. Chen allowed herself a small smile before issuing her final command. "All ships, prepare for faster-than-light jump. On my mark, jump." In a flash of light, the Allied fleet vanished, racing across the stars to meet their destiny. The battle for the galaxy was about to begin, and humanity was ready to show the universe what they were truly capable of when pushed to the brink. Battle preparations. The Allied fleet materialized at the edge of the Vega system, a dazzling array of ships stretching as far as the eye could see. Captain Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the UES Pathfinder, her eyes fixed on the main viewscreen as sensor data streamed in. "Status report," she called out, her voice taut with anticipation. Lieutenant Rodriguez's fingers flew over his console. "No immediate signs of Void Eater activity, Captain, but long-range sensors are picking up something. It's big, and it's heading this way." Chen nodded grimly. "Inform the fleet. Battle stations." As klaxons blared throughout the ship, Chen couldn't help but marvel at how far they'd come in such a short time. The Pathfinder, like every ship in the human contingent, had been dramatically upgraded with Zarthene technology, but it was the human touches that made her proud. Dr. Emily Wong's quantum entanglement communication system hummed quietly in the corner, linking every ship in the fleet in real time. The weapons systems, a hybrid of human and Zarthene design, stood ready, and deep in the bowels of the ship, a team of engineers monitored the experimental Chaos Drive, a propulsion system that utilized principles of quantum uncertainty to make the ship's movements truly unpredictable. "Captain," the communications officer called out, "incoming transmission from the Zarthene flagship." Chen nodded, and the face of Solin appeared on the screen. The alien's scales were a deep, steely gray, a color Chen had come to associate with resolute determination. "Captain Chen," as Alan said, its voice carrying a hint of what might have been nervousness. "Our long-range sensors have confirmed it. The Void Eater swarm approaches. They will be upon us in less than an Earth hour." Chen felt a chill run down her spine, but her voice remained steady. "Understood, Xalan. Is the fleet ready?" The Zarthene's eyes blinked in rapid succession. "As ready as we can be, given the circumstances. But I must confess, Captain, I find myself experiencing an emotion I believe humans call fear. Chen allowed herself a small smile. Fear is natural, Xiaolin. It's what we do in the face of that fear that defines us. Are you familiar with an old Earth saying, "Courage is not the absence of fear, but the triumph over it"? Sullen's scales rippled in what Chen now recognized as thoughtful consideration. Wise words, Captain. We shall triumph together, then. As the communication ended, Chen turned to address her crew. This is it, people. Everything we've worked for comes down to the next few hours. Remember your training, trust in each other, and no matter what happens, don't let those bastards see you sweat. A nervous chuckle rippled through the bridge crew. Chen could see the tension in their faces, but also the determination. They were ready. The next 45 minutes passed in a blur of last-minute preparations. Throughout the fleet, human and Zarthene crews ran final system checks, calibrated weapons, and steeled themselves for the coming battle. In the Pathfinder's engineering section, Chief Engineer Ramos made a final adjustment to the Chaos Drive. "This baby's gonna give those Void Eaters one hell of a headache," he muttered, patting the machine affectionately. In the medical bay, Dr. Patel and her team prepared for casualties, their faces grim but resolute. They had studied Void Eater biology extensively and developed new treatments for the parasitic infections that often accompanied their attacks. It was untested in actual combat, but it was the best they had. On the bridge, Chen watched the countdown timer tick away. 10 minutes to contact. "All hands," she called out, her voice carrying throughout the ship, and to the rest of the human fleet via the quantum comm, "This is Captain Chen. In a few moments, we will engage an enemy unlike any humanity has faced before. They think they're unstoppable. They think they can consume our worlds, our people, our very existence without consequence. Today, we prove them wrong. Remember, unpredictability is our greatest weapon. Use the Chaos Drive. Don't fall into patterns. Hit them hard, hit them fast, and don't let up. We're not just fighting for Earth or for the Zarthene. We're fighting for every species in this galaxy that deserves a chance to reach for the stars without fear. It won't be easy. We will face losses. But remember this, humans have faced extinction before. When the asteroids came, when the ice ages hit, when disease and war threatened to wipe us out, we survived. We adapted. We overcame. And that's exactly what we're going to do today. To quote another bit of human wisdom, the only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing. Well, we're doing something. We're standing up. We're fighting back. And we will win." A cheer went up across the fleet, human voices raised in defiance against the coming storm. As if in response to humanity's battle cry, alarms blared across the bridge. "Contact," Rodriguez shouted. Multiple contacts closing fast. Chen's eyes narrowed as she studied the tactical display. The Void Eater swarm was massive, a roiling cloud of biomechanical horrors that blotted out the stars. But as terrifying as the sight was, Chen felt a surge of determination. This was what they had prepared for. "All ships," she commanded, her voice steady and sure, "execute Battle Plan Omega. Chaos drives to maximum. Weapons free. Give 'em hell." The space around the Vega system erupted into chaos. Zarthene cruisers unleashed salvos of energy weapons that tore great holes in the Void Eater swarm. Human ships darted in and out of the fray, their movements erratic and unpredictable thanks to the Chaos Drives. On the Pathfinder's bridge, Chen barked out orders as the ship weaved through the battle. Target the largest concentration of Void Eaters and fire the Nova cannon. The ship shuddered as it unleashed its most powerful weapon. A beam of pure energy, as bright as a newborn star, lanced out from the Pathfinder. Where it struck the Void Eater swarm, thousands of the creatures simply ceased to exist, vaporized in an instant. But the Void Eaters were not without their own terrible weapons. Great tendrils of biomechanical matter lashed out, ensnaring ships and crushing them. Strange energies pulsed from the heart of the swarm, shorting out systems and leaving ships drifting helplessly. Evasive maneuvers, Chen shouted as a tendril larger than her entire ship whipped towards them. The Pathfinder rolled and juked, the chaos drive pushing the laws of physics to their limit. The tendril missed them by mere meters, close enough that Chen could see the horrific, gnashing maws that lined its surface. Hours passed, though to those in the thick of battle, it felt like an eternity. The quantum comm system buzzed constantly with updates, warnings, and occasionally cries for help. Chen watched as brave ships, both human and Zarthene, sacrificed themselves to save their comrades or to strike decisive blows against the enemy. But slowly, incrementally, they were making progress. The Void Eaters, for all their terrifying power, couldn't adapt quickly enough to the constantly shifting tactics of the Allied fleet. Every time they seemed to gain an advantage, the humans would change the rules of engagement, striking from unexpected angles with weapons the Void Eaters had never encountered before. As the battle raged on, Chen allowed herself a moment of hope. They were holding their own. They were actually pushing the Void Eaters back. For the first time since this terrible war began, victory seemed possible. But then, just as the tide seemed to be turning in their favor, everything changed. A massive shockwave rippled through space, powerful enough to send even the largest ships tumbling. As the Allied fleet struggled to regroup, a new horror emerged from the heart of the Void Eater swarm. It was enormous, easily the size of a small moon. Its surface writhed with countless Void Eaters, all moving in perfect, terrible synchronization. Energy crackled around it, so powerful that it warped the very fabric of space-time. "Dear God," Chen whispered, her eyes wide with shock. "What is that thing?" Sullen's voice came over the comm, tight with fear. "It's the hive mind, Captain Chen. The central intelligence that guides the entire Void Eater species. We've never seen it manifest physically before." As Chen stared at the monstrous entity, she realized that the battle had only just begun. The true test of humanity's resolve lay ahead, and the fate of the galaxy hung in the balance. The tide turns. The appearance of the Void Eater hive mind changed everything. Its massive form loomed over the battlefield, a horrifying amalgamation of flesh and machine that pulsed with malevolent energy. Captain Sarah Chen felt a moment of despair as she watched ship after ship, both human and Zarthene, fall before its awesome power. "Status report," Chen barked, forcing steel into her voice even as fear threatened to overwhelm her. Lieutenant Rodriguez's voice was strained but steady. "Shields at 40%, Captain. We've lost a third of the fleet. The hive mind is. It's adapting to our tactics faster than we can implement them." Chen gritted her teeth. They had come so far, fought so hard. She refused to let it end here. "Get me a direct line to Admiral Zhao," she ordered, "and patch in Salin as well. We need a new strategy, and we need it now." As the communication was established, Chen could see the toll the battle had taken on both her superior and her alien ally. Admiral Zhao's usually immaculate uniform was disheveled, a streak of blood marring his left temple. Zolan's scales had taken on a sickly pallor, its 4 eyes blinking rapidly in what Chen now recognized as extreme stress. "Captain Chen," Admiral Zhao acknowledged, his voice gravelly with exhaustion. "I assume you have a plan." Chen took a deep breath. What she was about to propose was risky, possibly suicidal, but it was the only option she could see. "Sir, the hive mind is the key. It's coordinating the entire Void Eater swarm. If we can take it out, the rest will fall into disarray." Sullen's scales rippled in agitation. "A sound strategy in theory, Captain, but how do you propose we accomplish this? Our most powerful weapons barely scratch its surface." Chen's eyes gleamed with determination. "We hit it from the inside. We use the chaos drive to get a ship close enough, then teleport a strike team directly into the hive mind itself." A moment of stunned silence followed her words. Admiral Zhao was the first to recover. "Chen, that's insane. Even if we could get a team inside, the environment would be lethal. Not to mention, we've never attempted to teleport living beings using Zarthene technology. With all due respect, sir, Chen countered, we're out of options. The longer we wait, the more ships we lose. I volunteer to lead the strike team myself. Solon's eyes widened. Captain Chen, the risk is necessary, Chen interrupted. Solon, your people have been fighting this war for generations. You've seen countless worlds fall. If there's even a chance this could end it, isn't it worth the risk? The alien was quiet for a long moment before its scales shifted to a resolute grey. You are right, of course. The Zarthene will support your plan. I will accompany you on this mission. Admiral Zhao looked between them, conflict clear on his face. Finally, he nodded. Very well, Captain. You have a go. God help us all. The next hour was a whirlwind of preparation. As the rest of the fleet engaged in a desperate holding action against the Void Eaters, Chen assembled her strike team. Dr. Emily Wong joined to operate the experimental teleportation device. Chief Engineer Ramos volunteered to maintain the Chaos Drive during the approach. Dr. Patel came along to deal with any biological threats they might encounter inside the hive mind. As they made their final preparations, Chen addressed her team. I won't lie to you. This mission is probably a one-way trip, but what we do here today could save not just humanity, not just the Zarthene, but every species in this galaxy. It's been an honor serving with each of you. With grim nods, they boarded the Pathfinder's shuttle. As the bay doors opened, Chen took one last look at her ship before focusing on the task ahead. The journey to the hive mind was a harrowing one. Ramos pushed the Chaos Drive beyond its intended limits, the shuttle phasing in and out of normal space as it weaved through the battle. Void Eater tendrils lashed out at them, missing by mere inches as the shuttle's erratic movements kept them just out of reach. As they approached the massive form of the hive mind, Chen felt a sense of awe despite her fear. Up close, she could see that its surface was composed of millions of individual Void Eaters, all moving in perfect synchronization. We're in position, Ramos called out, his hands dancing over the controls as he fought to keep the shuttle stable. Any closer and we'll be torn apart. Chen nodded to Dr. Wong. Now or never, Doctor. Wong took a deep breath and activated the teleporter. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, with a flash of light and a sensation like being turned inside out, they materialized inside the hive mind. The interior was a nightmarish landscape of pulsing flesh and twisting metal. Strange energies crackled through the air, and in the distance, Chen could hear a sound like millions of voices whispering in unison. Stay alert, she ordered, hefting her weapon. We need to find the central core and plant the quantum disruptor. They moved carefully through the alien environment, every step a challenge as the ground shifted beneath them. Dr. Patel worked tirelessly, using her adapted medical equipment to neutralize the parasites that constantly tried to infect them. As they progressed deeper into the hive mind, the whispers grew louder, more insistent. Chen felt a pressure building in her mind, as if something vast and ancient was trying to force its way in. Captain, Talon said, its voice strained, I believe the hive mind is becoming aware of our presence. We must hurry. They pushed on, fighting through waves of Void Eaters that emerged from the very walls to stop them. Chen's world narrowed to the rhythm of combat. Aim, fire, move. Her team fought with desperate courage, knowing that every second they bought might be the one that made the difference. Finally, they reached what could only be the central core. It was a massive chamber, at the center of which floated a pulsing orb of energy. Tendrils of light reached out from it, connecting to every part of the hive mind. That's it, Chen said, her voice hoarse. Plant the disruptor there. As Dr. Wong moved to set up the device, a deafening psychic scream tore through their minds. Chen fell to her knees, her vision blurring as the full might of the hive mind's consciousness bore down on them. Through the haze of pain, she saw Void Eaters pouring into the chamber from every direction. Her team fought valiantly, but they were overwhelmed by sheer numbers. In that moment, as hope seemed lost, Chen felt something stir within her. A fierce, primal rage that burned hotter than any star. This thing, this cosmic horror, thought it could simply consume her people, her allies, her galaxy. No, not while she still drew breath. With a roar of defiance, Chen fought through the psychic assault. She saw Dr. Wong fall, the quantum disruptor slipping from her grasp. Without hesitation, Chen dove for the device. Time seemed to slow as she rolled across the shifting floor, snatching up the disruptor. Void Eaters lunged for her, their maws gaping wide, but they were too slow. With the last of her strength, Chen slammed the quantum disruptor into the pulsing energy orb and activated it. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, reality itself seemed to fracture. The energy orb imploded, taking the quantum disruptor with it. A shockwave of unimaginable power tore through the hive mind. As consciousness slipped away from her, Chen's last thought was of Earth, of home. She hoped she'd done enough. She hoped humanity would have a future among the stars. Then, darkness took her. Aftermath and resurgence. The explosion that rocked the Void Eater hive mind sent shockwaves across the battlefield. For a moment, all combat ceased as both allies and enemies alike were stunned by the unprecedented event. Then chaos erupted. Admiral Zhao, aboard the UES Celestial, watched in awe as the massive form of the hive mind began to convulse. "What's happening?" he demanded, his eyes fixed on the main view screen. His science officer, Lieutenant Park, frantically analyzed the incoming data. "Sir, it appears that Captain Chen's team successfully detonated the quantum disruptor. The hive mind's psychic network is collapsing." As if to confirm her words, the Void Eater swarm began to move erratically. Where before they had fought with terrifying coordination, now they seemed confused, disorganized. Some turned on each other, while others simply drifted aimlessly in space. Solon's voice crackled over the comms, tight with a mixture of excitement and disbelief. "Admiral Zhao, are you seeing this? The Void Eaters, they're falling apart." Zhao allowed himself a grim smile. "I see it, Zalin. Captain Chen did it. She actually did it." His voice softened for a moment as he added, "At great cost." There was a moment of respectful silence for the brave souls who had sacrificed themselves to turn the tide of battle. Then Zhao's voice hardened with resolve. "All ships, this is Admiral Zhao. The enemy is in disarray. Press the advantage. Don't let up until every last one of these abominations is space dust." The Allied fleet surged forward with renewed vigor. Human ingenuity combined with Zarthene technology to devastating effect. Chaos drives allowed ships to appear and disappear across the battlefield, striking from impossible angles. Weapons powered by harnessed dark energy tore through Void Eater bio-armor like it was tissue paper. Hours passed, and slowly but surely, the tide of battle turned. The once unstoppable Void Eater swarm was being systematically decimated. Without the guiding intelligence of the hive mind, they were no match for the coordinated efforts of the Allied fleet. As the last pockets of resistance were mopped up, a cheer went up across the fleet. Human and Zarthene voices joined together in celebration of their hard-won victory. Admiral Zhao allowed his crew a moment of jubilation before calling for order. "Lieutenant Park, status report on the Pathfinder." Park's face fell as she consulted her readings. "Sir, we're detecting a massive debris field where the hive mind used to be. The Pathfinder's transponder, it's not responding." Zhao closed his eyes for a moment, feeling the weight of loss. Captain Sarah Chen and her brave team had given everything to secure this victory. They deserved to be here, celebrating with the rest of them. "Sir," Park suddenly called out, her voice rising with excitement. "I'm detecting faint life signs in the debris field. They're weak, but they're there." Hope surged through Zhao's chest. "Launch rescue shuttles immediately. Priority 1. The next few hours were tense as rescue teams combed through the remains of the hive mind. Finally, a triumphant shout came over the comms. We found them, Captain Chen and 3 others, alive but in critical condition. As the rescued team was rushed to medical facilities, news of their survival spread through the fleet like wildfire. The impossible had happened. Not only had they defeated the Void Eaters, but the heroes responsible had somehow survived. Days later, in the medical bay of the UES Celestial, Captain Sarah Chen slowly opened her eyes. The first thing she saw was the concerned face of Dr. Patel hovering over her. "Welcome back, Captain," Patel said with a warm smile. "You gave us quite a scare." Chen tried to speak, but her throat was dry. After sipping some water, she managed to croak out, "The others?" "Dr. Wong and Chief Ramos are recovering well," Patel assured her. Sullen. "Well, Zarthine physiology is remarkably resilient. It's already up and about, driving the medical staff crazy with questions about human biology." Chen let out a weak chuckle, wincing slightly at the pain in her ribs. "The Void Eaters." Defeated, came a new voice. Admiral Zhao stepped into view, his face a mixture of pride and relief. "Thanks to you and your team, Captain. The remnants of the swarm are being hunted down as we speak. For the first time in generations, the galaxy is free from their threat." Chen felt a wave of relief wash over her. It hadn't all been for nothing. They'd won. "There's more," Zhao continued. "News of our victory has spread across the galaxy. Species that had hidden themselves away in fear of the Void Eaters are emerging. They're calling for a galactic council, a united front to ensure this kind of threat never arises again, and they want Earth to play a leading role." Jen's eyes widened at the implications. Humanity, so new to the galactic stage, was being thrust into a position of leadership. The challenges ahead would be immense, but so were the opportunities. As if reading her thoughts, Zhao added, "It won't be easy. There's a lot of rebuilding to do, alliances to forge, technologies to develop. But after what you've accomplished, Captain, I'd say humanity is up to the task." Chen nodded slowly, her mind already racing with the possibilities. They had faced extinction and emerged victorious. They had proven themselves not just to the Zarthine, but to the entire galaxy. As she drifted off to sleep, Chen's last thoughts were of the future. A future where humanity reached for the stars not in fear, but in hope. A future they have fought for, bled for, and ultimately won. The Void Eaters were defeated, but humanity's greatest adventure was just beginning. A new era. 5 years had passed since the decisive battle against the Void Eaters, and the galaxy had changed in ways few could have imagined. The great docking bay of the Galactic Council's headquarters on neutral Centauri Prime buzzed with activity as delegates from 100 different species arrived for the historic summit. Admiral Sarah Chen, her captain's uniform now adorned with the distinguished insignia of Earth's ambassador to the Galactic Council, stood at the observation deck, watching the ships arrive. Each vessel was a testament to the diversity of life in the universe, from the crystalline structures of the Zarthine cruisers to the bio-organic pods of the reclusive Nahaguk. "Quite a sight, isn't it?" A familiar voice trilled behind her. Chen turned to see Xalan, its scales shimmering with the iridescent patterns that denoted its status as the head of the Zarthine delegation. "It never gets old," Chen agreed, a smile playing on her lips. The years had been kind to her, the only visible sign of her ordeal 5 years ago being a thin scar that ran along her left temple. Hard to believe how far we've come. Sullen's 4 eyes blinked in sequence, a gesture Chen had come to recognize as nostalgia. "Indeed, when we first encountered your species, we were desperate for any ally against the Void Eaters. We could not have imagined that you would not only help us defeat them, but lead us into a new age of cooperation." Chen nodded, her mind drifting back to those early days. The aftermath of the Void Eater War had been chaotic, with many species emerging from hiding, some seeking revenge against those they blamed for their suffering, others scrambling to claim the resources left behind by fallen civilizations. It had been Earth, with its unique blend of diplomacy, innovation, and determination, that had stepped up to mediate conflicts and propose solutions. The Galactic Council, once a dream of unity, had become a reality under human leadership. "We've had our share of challenges," Chen said, thinking of the tense negotiations, the cultural misunderstandings, and the occasional outbreak of hostilities that had marked the past 5 years. "But we faced them together." As if on cue, a sleek vessel entered the docking bay, its hull gleaming with a metal unknown 5 years ago. It was a joint human-Zarthene design, incorporating the best of both species' technologies. Similar collaborations were visible throughout the bay, a testament to the new spirit of cooperation that had swept the galaxy. "The council session will be starting soon," Salen noted. "Shall we, Admiral?" Chen nodded, straightening her uniform. As they walked towards the Grand Council chambers, they passed delegates from dozens of species, each nodding respectfully to the human and Zarthene pair. It was a far cry from the suspicion and hostility Chen had faced on her first journey into space. The council chamber itself was a marvel of architecture designed to accommodate beings of all shapes and sizes. As Chen took her seat at the head of the human delegation, she couldn't help but feel a sense of pride. Humanity had earned its place here, not through conquest or intimidation, but through courage, innovation, and an unwavering commitment to cooperation. The chamber fell silent as the council leader, a statuesque being from the ancient Etherian race, called the session to order. "Delegates of the Galactic Council," the leader began, its voice resonating with a melody that touched the hearts of all present. "We gather today to address a matter of great importance. The quarantine zone established around the former Void Eater territory is ready to be lifted." A murmur ran through the assembled delegates. The quarantine had been a necessary precaution, ensuring that no remnants of the Void Eater threat remained, but it had also locked away potentially valuable resources and knowledge. "Ambassador Chen," the leader continued, "as the representatives of the species most instrumental in the Void Eater's defeat, we would hear Earth's recommendation on this matter." Chen stood, feeling the weight of countless eyes upon her. This was a crucial moment, one that would shape the future of the galaxy. She took a deep breath and began to speak. "Esteemed delegates of the Galactic Council, 5 years ago, we faced a threat that nearly destroyed us all. The Void Eaters were a force of consumption and destruction that knew no bounds. In defeating them, we lost much: worlds, lives, entire civilizations. But we also gained something precious: unity. The quarantine zone represents both our victory and our fear. Fear that something of the Void Eaters might remain, that we might unleash that terror upon ourselves once more. But we cannot let fear guide our actions. Not anymore. Earth proposes not just the lifting of the quarantine, but the establishment of a joint scientific mission to explore and study the former Void Eater territory. Let us turn this place of darkness into a beacon of knowledge. Let us learn from the past to build a better future." Chen paused, looking around the chamber. She saw uncertainty in some faces, excitement in others. She pressed on. "But we must do this together. No single species should bear the responsibility or reap the rewards alone. I propose a coalition with representatives from every member of this council. Together we will explore, together we will learn, and together we will ensure that the sacrifices made to defeat the Void Eaters were not in vain." As Chen finished speaking, the chamber erupted in discussion. Some delegates voiced enthusiastic support, while others raised concerns about safety and resource allocation. But there was a sense of energy, of possibility that filled the air. The debate raged for hours, with proposals and counter-proposals flying back and forth. Chen found herself in the thick of it, mediating disputes, offering compromises, and always pushing towards consensus. It was exhausting work, but exhilarating too. Finally, as the twin suns of Centauride Prime began to set, casting the council chamber in a warm, golden glow, a decision was reached. The quarantine would be lifted, and a joint exploration initiative, dubbed Project Phoenix, would begin. As the council session adjourned, Chen felt a profound sense of accomplishment. This was why humanity had fought so hard, sacrificed so much. Not just to survive, but to thrive, to explore, to push the boundaries of knowledge and cooperation. Salen approached her as the delegates filed out of the chamber. A masterful performance, Admiral, it said, its scales shimmering with admiration. You've ushered in a new era for all of us. Chen smiled, feeling the weight of the day's events. We all did, Salen. This is just the beginning. As they walked out onto a balcony overlooking the sprawling cityscape of Centauri Prime, Chen's gaze was drawn upward to the stars. Somewhere out there, the remnants of the Void Eaters waited to be explored, but they were no longer a threat to be feared. Instead, they were a challenge to be met, a mystery to be unraveled. Humanity had found its place among the stars, not as conquerors or victims, but as leaders, innovators, and partners. The galaxy had thrown its worst at them, and they had not only survived but thrived. As the first stars began to twinkle in the darkening sky, Chen felt a sense of anticipation. The greatest adventure in human history wasn't ending, it was just beginning. The galactic crucible had forged humanity into something greater than they had ever imagined, and the universe would never be the same.